Wow, browsing the web sure is cool. I want to go further into the web. But how?
Hey Brady, what are you doing?
I am surfing the net on my computer.
Wow, that's very cool, Brady. But you know what's even cooler?
What?
Surfing the net in your dreams.
Wow! Wow, how does that work?
With this, Hypnospace for the PC.
Wow, how does that work?
Just strap in, jack in, count some sheep, and you're ready to explore the world of Hypnospace.
That's pretty much the idea behind Hypnospace Outlaw, a web browsing indie game that has people exploring a digital version of a fictional 1999 using a brand new internet service called Hypnospace, something that allows people to explore the internet in their dreams. I've been following this game for a long time, at least since the Kickstarter happened back in 2016. It was made by Jay Tholen, and I really liked his previous game, Dropsy. It looked so unique from anything I've ever seen before, particularly in how accurately it nails that 90s web browsing aesthetic. They even created a physical version that's designed to look like one of those old AOL install discs. That's so cool. But obviously, if you're gonna make a game out of something like this, you're going to have some sort of goal. This is marketed as a game after all, and not just a simulator. So you take on the role of a volunteer working for Merchantsoft, the company behind Hypnospace. It's now up to you to take on cases, browse the web for illegal or harmful content, and report anything you find to HQ. There's 5 types of reportable content. There's copyrighted material, harassment and defamation of character, illegal or disturbing content, malicious or harmful software like viruses or ransomware and stuff, and finally illegal commerce. That's like illegal methods of moving money, like an illegal, sketchy version of PayPal or something. You'll be emailed specific cases from HQ that you'll go on to investigate, but you can also slam that hammer down on anything you'll find, even if it's not directly related to a case. Alright, so you've got a handful of designated categories you can browse. Each one of these has a bunch of pages from a bunch of different users, and those pages all branch off to more and more pages as you click around. I really love the way the pages pop and wiggle in as they load. It gives it a feeling of like a lucid dreamscape instead of just strictly limiting it to the way that, 90s PC graphics actually moved and actually loaded. It makes it seem more like you're browsing the web in your dreams instead of with a computer. Though sometimes I did find myself growing a tad impatient with this, since you do have to wait for them to load in every single time you click a page, and when you back out of a zone and you're at the bottom, you gotta wait for it to catch back up. It's kind of a nitpick, yeah, but it is something that does happen a lot. But yeah, every zone is kind of like a different category. You've got stuff for like music and reviews. There's Teentopia, the hip zone for kids and teens. Then there's my favorite, Good Time Valley. This is the baby boomer page. Oh my lord. Like, you ever go on a Facebook page that's full of old people and you read the comments? This is just like that. It is so accurate. They love complaining about the good old days, and they love motorcycles and their old comic strip characters and Jesus. They really love Jesus. The teen pages are pretty accurate too. It reminds me a lot of when I used to go on forum sites a bunch as a kid. You'll find kids writing horror stories and drawing pictures and posting their edgy comics. Zane, this guy has gotta be my favorite kid on this site. Oh my god, look at this dude's page. Sexy both on and offline. Oh my god, this is so good. And then we've got Squishers, the hot new game all the kids are into. It's an obvious 90s Pokemon parody, even down to how the boomers think it's satanic and that it's poisoning the minds of their children. Dude, that theme song, I know the guy that made that. That's Hot Dad. I've been following that guy for ages, man. He's this really great YouTube music guy. Absolutely hilarious, that dude. Actually, I think he's how I found out about Hypnospace to begin with. He plays the role of the Chowder Man, this washed-up rock star who now works for Merchantsoft. It's so sick that they didn't just get him to make some music for the game, but they also used his likeness to play a full-on character in the game's universe. Alright, so only so many pages pages are going to be indexed from the main hub. To find a lot of the important stuff you really got to crack down on, you'll have to click through various links and even use the search bar. Reading through various pages and seeing what people have to say about other users will often give you hints on what to search for if you can't find what you're looking for, and the way it's all handled feels incredibly organic. It really does feel like a network of real users with real opinions on one another that you observe and digest and use to get a lead. It doesn't just highlight things or make them really obvious, like having you walk near something you need and then having a jingle tell you to pick it up. Not to diss on Ally Noir or anything, it's one of my favorite games ever, I just think Hypnospace takes the sort of thing to the next level in a really effective way. For each thing you'll find, you'll earn Hypno Coin, which you can use to buy stickers and music and wallpapers and all sorts of neat stuff for your desktop. Yeah, there's actually a lot more to this game than just using the browser. You've got an entire computer to mess around with. You can change the cursor settings, the sounds, you can listen to music, or download and view images and video files, and there's tons of applications you can install and use. It's through these apps that the game will often introduce elements of puzzle solving that really involve thinking outside of the box. It kind of reminds me of games like One Shot, where you'd have to do stuff outside of the game to progress, but this is less fourth wall breaky and more so confined within the game itself. A really cool example earlier on in the game is this case where you have to find people using Kappa Cash as methods of payment, and that's illegal commerce, so you gotta pull the plug on it. But no matter how much I browsed, I couldn't find anything about it. I searched every single zone, I clicked any links that advertised things for sale, I even typed in every variation of the phrase store or buy that I could think of into the search bar. Then I stumbled upon this app called Professor Helper. It's kind of like a parody of Bonzi Buddy, like it's supposed to be this virtual companion that helps you out, but instead, it just hammers you with ads and links to sketchy websites. So at first I'm thinking, oh great, this is a virus, I need to find some way to get rid of this, but then I realized, wait a minute, sketchy websites, that's exactly what I'm looking for, and boom, there it was, Kappa Cash. As you progress, you'll unlock more and more zones you can explore, and there's a couple of parts in the game where there's a passing of time that happens, and this is really cool because you can go back to pages you've already looked at and see how things have changed. Subscriptions expire, people make status updates, pages get removed, you even get to see people reacting directly to the actions you've taken as a Hypnospace enforcer. Oh no, poor Abby, man. Like, I copyright struck all of the pictures on her pages because they were violating copyright law, but then she started a raging protest over it. Hypnospace is really good at reminding you that your actions affect people. You might think you're just doing your job, but then you remember, oh yeah, there's a human being on the other side of these decisions. To you, you're just taking down copyrighted material, like you're supposed to. You can't do that, Abby, pull it down. But to her, she's just a poor old woman posting pictures that her students in her first grade class gave to her. You can use your omnipotent moderation powers to do pretty much anything you want, but there will be that nagging feeling that questions the morality of what you did. And I don't mean in like this gigantic, are you really the good guy kind of way, but more like a, oh, I didn't really think of that kind of way. I find a lot of games really want to explore these extremes when it comes to morality, but Hypnospace is pretty comfortable with exploring this on a much smaller scale, and it was a pretty great change of pace. Now later on in the game, the cases can get pretty elaborate, and the puzzles can be a tad cryptic. With such a gigantic network of pages at your disposal, it can be a little bit difficult to find what you're looking for sometimes, especially when the game's asking you to find like secret pages and passwords and you have no idea where to look. You really got to pay attention and put on your noodle cap for this game. You might feel lost for a little bit, but when you find the info you need and you put two and two together, it'll usually hit you like a brick. It can be a tad difficult at times, but I urge you to try your absolute hardest to beat it without a walkthrough, because I felt like a freaking genius every time I would finally connect the dots. This game can get pretty emotional at points too, and it's really interesting because you only see everything in passing. None of the events are stuff that you see personally or in real time. It's all just stuff that already happened and you read about it online. And usually when games do something like that, it doesn't really shake me up that much. But in Hypnospace, this is entirely how you observe these characters. Everything you know about them, everything that makes you love them are things you see in passing. So when you learn about things that happen to them, it's following the same style of narrative, and I think it's because of that consistency that I found myself shocked and emotional in some cases. Obviously, I can't really give give any major examples without spoiling the game, but a really good example that happens to a minor character. Okay, this is kind of a minor spoiler, so skip here, but it's minor, okay? So, an example that happens to a minor character involves this fan art contest. There's this little Christian girl who loves squishers, and she posts about how her church thinks they're satanic, and that she really loves it despite that, and thinks they just misunderstand, and she also talks about how her dad got her this art program, so she's learning how to draw with it. And as time goes by, you can see her starting this drawing that she's going to enter in the Squishers contest. And even later in the game, you can see that she won that contest. So you click on her page to see how excited she is, just to see this goodbye message explaining that her Christian parents found out she was playing Squishers and threw her game in the trash and now won't let her use Hypnospace. And most heartbreaking of all, she has no idea she won the contest, and now that she's not allowed to use Hypnospace anymore, she'll never find out. I was like upset over this. I was so mad. I was like, no, this is an injustice. I was like devastated, dude. That poor little girl. There is amazing world building in this game. The fact that they led up to this moment with pages that establish how in this universe Christians think Squishers is unholy, it made this moment all the more powerful because it didn't just feel like a bad thing that happened. It felt like a real thing that happened. At the surface, Hypnospace just seems like a wacky 90s internet simulator, with most of the emphasis on the silliness and the humor, but it's so unafraid to deeply explore this circus of characters that have all stumbled upon this weird internet service. Oh, you know what? It really reminds me of how the Deus Ex games build their worlds. A lot of the things you'll learn about the areas and the people living there in those games you discover by hacking computers and reading emails. It's almost like they took that and turned it into an entire game. Everything is so interconnected, not only to each other, but also to you. Going back to Abby's page months later to see her start a free speech protest over what you did to her, or seeing Zane's comic strip update as time goes on, and reading how the other kids think Zane's a jerk. You click on these pages and you observe people. You observe them enter and exit relationships, you watch them develop interests and create projects, you see how people react to the world around them, taking action when moderators fail them, and then going to make their own website. It's like 100 little stories that make up this gigantic network, and that network really is the story. I got Hypnospace thinking it was just going to be this wacky, silly 90s internet simulator, and it is that, but I was really surprised to see how much more than that it also is. It's this incredibly well-developed world of fully fleshed out characters that have real problems, and there's sketchiness and bizarreness, and you get to feel like a real, actual detective thrown into that world, figuring everything out entirely on your own. And it feels amazing. Hypnospace is a really rewarding experience. The way the game makes you rely on your own ability to keep track of things and connect it all together instead of doing anything for you turns this into one of the best detective games I've played in the last decade. If you want to check the game out, it's available up on Steam. I'll link that down below, but keep in mind it's also available on itch.io, and if you get it there, more money goes to the people who actually made this thing, plus you get it DRM free, so that's the way to go in my opinion, but I'm gonna link both just because I know some people like Steam. But yeah, this game is like extremely good, so please do yourself a favor, strap in, jack in, count some sheep, and explore the world of Hypnospace. Yo, what's up? Welcome to the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoy Hypnospace as much as I did. If you want to support the show, we have a podcast on Patreon that's $1 a month. You also get like blooper reels and stuff. Freaking, I don't know, click on the like button. You can do that. Do it if you want, I guess. Goodbye.